A very good afternoon to everyone. This is Saivi Nijavan, and on behalf of Tata Steel, I'd like to thank you for joining us today in the third financial knowledge sharing session. The topic for today's webinar is new market development through best practices in primary and secondary market research. We are pleased to introduce our guest speaker for today, the industry expert, Mr. Amitabh Pant. Presently Vice President at BDB India Private Limited with 30 years of experience in the industrial domain. Having experience across sales, marketing, channel management and pricing, Mr. Amitabh has been responsible for channel strategy, policies and pricing in Sandvik for over 10 years. Amitabh has worked extensively in the industry with 25 years at Sandvik Coromandel in many operations at sales and marketing roles. He has had hands-on experience in creating and developing strategy as well as execution of all plans with cross-functional responsibility across internal as well as external stakeholders for business development, branding, marketing, channel strategy, sales management and organizational structure, pricing and profitability management, CRM usage and implementation, business intelligence, and training. He has been an active member of Sandvik Global and regional management teams. Amitabh has done his BE Mechanical in 1990 and various management, administrative and leadership courses in Sandvik Academy, tied up with Stockholm School of Economics. Thank you for your participation, and now over to you, Amitabh.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon to all of you. I know it's a challenging task for everybody to stay back at home, quite safe and sound, and maybe listen to me for the next 45 minutes to 1 hour, maybe. And I'll try to make this session interesting for all of you. And as we know, the background which you have about me, maybe I'll try to share my experience of last 30 years, maybe not exactly 30 years, but at least the first 10 years, or maybe it was more on the sales side, sales engineer side, but maybe some experience which I have developed in the last 10-15 years with some gray hairs on my head. So maybe I'll try to make the session quite interesting with the practical experiences which I have had in my journey, and very specific to the distributor fraternity and the channel management, and how the channel works across the country and across the product and across the customers. So I'll restrict to some case studies, examples which are quite relevant to, and again based on my previous experiences. So I'll touch upon products like cutting tools, which have been my lifeline for the last 25 years being in Sandvik. So we used to supply these cutting tools to all the customers across India, majorly the automobile sector, the oil and gas, the aerospace, and the experiences therein for the sales of the cutting tools. And maybe I'll try to give some common examples of the automobile industry so that you understand the complete flow of the presentation and what is in it there for you. So to begin with, the topic, as we can see on the screen, is the new market development and what could be the best practices on the primary and the secondary research for the same. I mean, to explain that, maybe to make it easy, that means that how can you as channel partners improve your market share, improve your sales in your area or maybe for your products, right, by adapting to some new methods of finding customers need, by taking this route of primary and secondary market research. So that may seem a little new to you, because normally the primary and secondary market research is not used for down at the sales level to find new customers, but we'll try to incorporate some learnings of the research domain, and how that can help you to generate more sales. So coming back to my experience, like I have been primarily in the sales and marketing background for the last 30 odd years. I have never seen the other side of market research in my career, but it's very interesting now for the last 2 years that I have been associated with BDB, and it is a privilege that now I have seen both side of the coin. So the one side of the coin, that is from the sales and marketing of different products which you sell in the market, and now for the last 2 years the market research which is done for these kinds of products to sell more and more. So I represent both the sides. So, and I see a great advantage of market research to sell more, because when I was selling, I mean, I never realized the importance of market research. But now when I am into market research, I feel that market research can actually help you to increase sales substantially. And maybe so we'll look at that angle. So that is the objective of the whole session, and I'll take you through the complete in a good flow. I mean, so that it is interesting, and if somebody has had late lunch, he does not fall asleep, and uh, everybody is wide awake, and we move forward. So a little bit quickly on what I mean on BDB. I mean who we are. So BDB India Private Limited is a market research and a business consultancy organization, and we have been into this area for the last 30 years. So this is the 31st year we are helping customers to study the market in depth and find out the opportunities to grow their business. And we have a global presence, and we focus more within India. We focus on the Southeast Asia market. We focus on Middle East. We focus on the Africa and some Latin America and parts of Europe, Australia. So it's a global presence which we have, but primarily focusing more on India. We have a huge list of customers which we have tried to, I mean, which we have helped in the last 30 years. Some Fortune 500 companies, many multinational companies in India who have established over a long period of time. Some large Indian companies like Larsen Tubro, Godrej, Thermax, Tata, Birla. Medium-sized companies also, because they need I mean they are the ones who are expanding their businesses, so we help even the medium-sized family-owned companies. One good achievement of ours is that we have got a good association with various Indian and foreign industrial associations like IMTMA, ACMA, SIAM, TAGMA, VDMA, and we also go to the extent of supporting companies who are venturing into the Indian market. So we help the customers from Germany, Italy, US, UK to study the Indian market and maybe get into the Indian market. Some broad topics which we cover are the market sizing, the market segmentation, the customer behavior, the competition mapping, the product distribution analysis, the future trends and market projections, some technology trends coming in the future, after market sales, pricing strategy, distribution analysis, go-to-market strategy for customers, concept tests, customer journey mapping, which is a net promoter score to know the customer's voice, what they talk and speak about you, the impact of macro trends in the industrial growth, some import and export market potential mapping, market awareness, brand and customer experience, customer satisfaction, and so on and so forth. So it's a long list. So that was a little short brief about who we are, and we have had a good association with Tata, and we thank them for the opportunity given to us today to present this in front of all of you. And the agenda for the day, I changed it a little bit now because we know what we are going to talk about. So the agenda, let's keep it as how to become a smart channel partner. So that is what we will try to find out in the next 45 minutes. That how do you become a smart channel partner by using those techniques of primary and secondary research, and how can you differentiate yourself from the big crowd which is there in the market. So everybody is running after business, everybody is wanting to solve problems, and everybody wants to be better than the others, but then somebody has to be the best. So who's the best is the race which is going on. But before we get into that topic, I don't know how many of you know about Simon Sinek and his principle of the golden circle. So this is something, which I have liked for the last many years, and it talks about it is applicable at a personal level and maybe even at a professional level. The concept of this golden circle. So I'm sure many of you must be knowing about that, but it is good to link it to the presentation today and the findings of today. The golden circle talks about the why, the how, and the what of anything and everything which you do. Which means that before you do anything, or before even you think of doing anything, can you pause for a minute and imagine this circle, the golden circle in front of you, and then just think that why are you thinking of doing what you are thinking to do, and how will that help you, and I mean, what will you achieve by doing that? Which means, why is the purpose? So before doing anything, like suppose even if we are having this seminar or this discussion today, then there has to be a purpose why we are meeting. I mean, what will you achieve when you go back? And so there has to be a purpose of even spending this 45 minutes with me, right? And then, I mean, how is the part that, okay, I mean, if you are now if you have thought that, okay, there's a purpose behind you to sit and listen to me for 45 minutes, then how will it go by? I mean, what will be the specific things which I will tell you? And so that it boils down to what are the specific actions that you will take to realize your why or the purpose, and then what do you do? I mean, what is the result? What's the result of your purpose and actions? I mean, so taking it a little further, when I said that the agenda for the today was that to become a smart channel partner, then it is the first and the foremost thing is to understand why should you be smart, and why should be a smart partner, and then what actions should you take or would you need to become smart, and what will you gain? I mean, if at all you achieve your purpose, and if at all you take the right actions to become smart, then what is there that you will gain? Definitely you will gain increased sales and increased profits. Sell at the right place, the right thing to the right person at the right price. So that is the objective of the whole thing. So to begin with, and to start the whole thing, that we again focus on the main core of the golden circle. Why should you be a smart channel partner? That is, I mean, smart means knowing a little bit more than others, nothing more than that. Smart is nothing, is no ordinary extraordinary thing. I mean, smart simply means that you know a little bit more than what others know. Smart partners actually compete with data as a leverage. So even though we talk about smart cities or smartphones, I mean, it is all uh, uh, an extension of this, that okay, I mean, everything has, I mean, everything and everywhere you will find data, but what you do with the data is where the smartness comes in. So smart partners will actually compete with data as a leverage to gain market shares, and how that will happen, we'll look into that in the coming slides. And smart partners, they exceed their own and their principals' expectations. That is how I would put it. And why should you become one? Because if you behave smartly in the market, if you are smart, then only you will have a big market share and a higher profitability. A smart partner is always under control. I mean, a smart guy, even he'll not hide himself when the situations are bad or things are not in control, or maybe they'll not be firefighting when things go out of control. They are people, I mean, who are like the captain of a ship, and they plan, they can see the future, they can see what is going to happen, what corrective actions they need to take, and they are in full control of everything. And there are no rooms for any guesses or assumptions. I mean, so that's the meaning of a smart partner. I mean, who's under control always, and companies and you should be looking for market and industry insights, future outlook, demand generation, support, and help to become smart. Now let's come to the how part of it. I mean, which is the next most important thing. So if you know the purpose, that the purpose of sitting together here, going through this presentation is to be smart, to behave in a smart way, to achieve your goals of higher market shares, to sell more. That is what you want. You want to sell more, you want to sell to the right person, you want to sell at the right profit. You have to have a win-win situation between your customers and yourself and your principals. Everybody should benefit from the transactions which go across everybody. So once the purpose is defined, I mean, it doesn't need that. How do we do that? And there comes in the topic of the day, that okay, how does a research help you to gain more market share, to gain more information about the market, to gain more information about the customers, to gain more information about the competition and what is happening around you. So a smart partner makes a difference by knowing the market much better than the others. Like I said, being smart is knowing something a little bit more than what others know. So it is as simple as that. So I mean, is there a process, is there a procedure where you can know more about the market, and knowing more about the market can differentiate you from others? I mean, that means it can differentiate you from your customers, competitors. It can change the image of yours in front of your customers. I mean, you can help your customers, and the customers can get more advantage from you if you have the information about the market more than what the others have. So I would like to put it like this. So this is more of a combination of a primary and a secondary research to know more about the market. And how that would happen is, I mean, to have insights to win the marketplace. I mean, what are the different insights which you can have to win the marketplace? So maybe we can see that. I mean, if you can ask questions to yourself like, have I addressed all the segments, all the clusters, all the applications, and all the sizes of customers which are there in my market? Like, suppose if I take an example of the cutting tool industries and where we were, I mean, we always used to say that, "Nahi, ye mera customer hai," and maybe no, that maybe he's not my type of a customer, or you form perceptions about customers, or maybe you are unaware about some segments where you think that, okay, I mean, this segment is not growing, or maybe like, this is not my type of a segment. I'll not get my market price or my market share over there. And so there is always an unknown, uh, a blind spot, in the segment which you are catering to, or in a market where you're catering. So if somebody says, "Nahi, I know the entire segment and entire industry in my area, all the clusters in my area, all the applications at my customers end, and I cater to all the size of customers," then maybe that's a super statement to make. But so what is important is that, is there a possibility, is there a way to find more about the industry segment you are handling, more about the clusters where you are present, more about the customers' needs? Do you know how many companies are existing which are similar to the customers you are handling right now? Suppose if you have a customer base of 100, do you actually know that instead of 100 there are 200 customers in your area? So that is something which needs to be probed. Are we aware about the emerging trends in the market? Like, suppose you are catering to different segments, like maybe aerospace, or maybe oil and gas, or maybe automobile, or maybe the construction industry. So out of all these segments, do you know that which industry segment is going to take a lead in next 3 or 4 years, or which industrial segments will have the power or the money to invest and open new ventures and invest more coming in the coming years? I mean, so I mean, are we aware of the emerging trends in the segment which we are dominating? What are the opportunities that these emerging trends offer to you? I mean, will it open new avenues to sell a different stream of products for you? I mean, is there a possibility that you can add some different services along what you're already selling? So these points which you see here, I mean, like addressing the segments, or maybe knowing the different more and more customers, or the emerging trends of the market, or maybe knowing the more opportunities. These are something which are normally the pointers for doing research, for, I mean, any type of research. It could be for any product, it could be for any industry, it could be across any set of customers. So these points we are seeing right now, I mean, these are the typical points which are used as the key pointers for doing a market study. The other one could be that, who could be your potential customers? I mean, are you aware that, do you have a list of all the customers, and what potentials do they, what potential do they have? And I mean, do we do that every week, or every month, or in a quarter? So what is the frequency of knowing that how many potential customers we have, and what is the potential of those customers? Are we aware of who are the competitors, first of all, and how much are they selling in your domain, your type of products, or how are they addressing the customers challenges? I mean, which customers are ahead of you? I mean, what products do they have which they are better than? So is there a competition mapping which you are aware of? or is your customer's business changing? I mean, many times it happens that the customer keeps on changing his business. I mean, like I'll give example that in our industry, which we used to focus, I mean, there were many customers who used to change their raw material, and the moment you change your raw material, the product application changes. If the application changes, the products which we were supplying, I mean, they used to change. So depending upon the change in the business of the end customer, maybe your portfolio changes, what you supply to them, maybe your service angle changes to them. And then the million-dollar question is that how do you gain more share of business from the existing customers? So these are some of the points that if you get a thorough knowledge of the entire marketplace where you are present, I mean, definitely you will get many ideas that, okay, I mean, where you are good at and where you can be better. I mean, where are the areas where you have been selling more, and which are the other areas where you can actually sell much more than what you are selling. So this column shows that, okay, what insights you need to have about a marketplace, so that you have more knowledge on the market, and then that leads to a smart, you know, the smartness that brings up the smartness within you to make an action plan to maybe address customers' need to sell more and maybe get more profit. How do you do that? I mean, that is uh, the main question then coming in, and I'm trying to link that. How do we do it in say market research? So these things which you have seen, like knowing the segments, knowing the clusters, knowing the application, knowing the size of the customers, knowing which customers are existing in which geographical area, what are the trends in the market, what are the opportunities in the market, and what is the competition doing, how much is the competition selling. So all those things which you see on this big list on the column. So that there's a research methodology to find the answers to each and every question that is listed over there. And for that, the building block is that we focus on each and every customer segment. Like suppose if I take the automotive for example, then maybe I would like, I mean, somebody would say that, okay, I mean, let's focus only on say the four wheelers, my segment. I mean, I cater to only four wheelers, but there could be some products in my kitty we will go into the two wheeler segment. I'm just giving an example. And then you again all of a sudden you come to know that, okay, I mean, this EV is now coming up like anything, so maybe should we also try something in EV? So it is that, I mean, how many customer segments can we cover, right? And within those customer segments, is it possible to drill down into say some micro segments and some applications which can further give you informations on what is listed on the other side of this column? Is it, I mean, how do you do the competition landscaping? Because that will help you to increase the share of business, because the business will come from what the competition is selling. So there can there be some approaches where you can know that, okay, I mean, what is the competition selling, and I mean, what can you replace, I mean, for against the competition products. Then knowing the forecast of the existing market, that who will drive it. So will the, like I was saying, that will the four-wheeler market, I mean, will that have a more demand for my products, or will the two-wheeler segment have more demand for my products, or will the EV pick up, or will the commercial vehicle market pick up? This is just an example of an automotive industry, but it could be that the customer segment which you are catering to, the macro segment within that segment, or the applications within the customer's area where the competition is selling, there is a possibility that, how do you see the future of that? I mean, if you are able to predict the future, if you are able to research the future, then you will come to that, okay, which industry will drive in future. I mean, and there you can maybe focus your products. There could be various new applications which will emerge in the market. Are you aware of the new applications which will be emerging? I mean, can you address them going forward? And then, do you have an idea of the total geographical segmentation in your area? So these are all the various, research fundamental topics. I mean, which go into making a total soup of a research study report, which helps various customers. It can help maybe even the channel partners, I mean, to identify where to focus, which products to focus upon, which customers, which competition to focus upon. So in this era of smart distributorship, I mean, this kind of data, insight, and impact is increasingly accessible, and therefore it is very, very necessary to have this sort of a landscape information with you. Normally, in a daily routine type. I mean, we are busy, making our sales plan. We are busy discussing with our principals. We are busy implementing the channel policies or various policies which are there. We are stuck with the customer needs. We are stuck with managing our inventories. We are stuck with fulfilling customers' needs. And I mean, so there are some routines which we are always tied up with, and the day starts at 9 or maybe 8:30 or whatever it is. It ends at 6 or 7 in the evening, and there is actually no time at all to think on all these topics which you see on the screen. So can there be some time where you could put on that smart cap and think from maybe a researcher's point of view, that how do I know my market better than what I know right now? Because the human mind, actually it forms a shell, or it goes into a well, thinking that, I mean, the market the best, who your customers are, and then you don't look beyond that. So this is all about the how part of it, that how can you maybe map your market well, so that you are able to expand beyond your customer base. uh, Going further deep into that how do we actually do it? How do you increase the visibility of the market domain you are handling? And whatever we saw in this previous slide, I mean, how do you actually do that? I mean, how do you go about it? I mean, can do catch hold of a research agency and say that, okay, find this for me, or can you do it on your own? Or what could be a breadth of the market visibility, which means that you need to have a complete view of all different customer segments in your area. So those segments which you are aware, and maybe those segments which you are not aware. So if I take example of the cutting tool industry, maybe we were supplying to all different industry segments, but maybe we never thought of supplying to a bicycle manufacturing industry segment. We thought that cutting tools go only into a big automobile manufacturer, or maybe they go into manufacturing of pumps, they go into manufacturing of valves, they go into manufacturing of medical equipment, aerospace, you name it, and everything is there. But you never focus on the cycle industry, because you never had a thought that can a cutting tool be used for manufacturing a cycle. But then, or maybe you knew it, but you didn't know how big the market was. So I mean, just an example that you need to actually increase the breadth of the market visibility. That, I mean, do you know all the segments? And if you know all the segments, do you know how many actually are capable of using your products, or at how many places can you actually go and sell? At the same time, on the other axis, there's a need to know the depth of the market visibility. So one is the width, that is the customer segment, the various customers in that, and the second is the depth of the market visibility, which will give you a landscape, the complete market landscape in a matrix, which means that within a customer segment, suppose if I say automotive, then how many customers are there? I mean, you have got, like I said, you have got the four-wheelers, you have got the two-wheelers, you have got the EV. Then within that EV and the four-wheeler and the two-wheeler, there could be applications like, say, engine manufacturing or transmission box manufacturing, or maybe it's a long list, right? So can we have those applications? And then can you identify that, okay, I mean, to which segment you are selling, and which sub-segment are you selling, where you are not selling, which applications are you actually selling into? So it's a matrix, and where you are actually not selling, and then getting into the micro segments of it, that, okay, I mean, for making an engine, I mean, how many customers are there? And if, I mean, I know, say, 10 customers, but there may be some customers whom I don't know. So that is getting into the micro part of it. So is it, if I now address the customers whom I know, then it's an easy chunk of business, that I know the customer, and I know it is possible to increase the share of business. There are some customer value drivers. There are some pain points which you can address for those customers, right? And so those customers, and then it's easier for you to increase your share of business over there. There are some known prospects, where you have not sold, but the customer is there. I mean, there is a possibility of your going and selling his customers. So there, for those things, I mean, you need an action plan where, I mean, how do you create the awareness of your product to those known prospects? I mean, how do you create the awareness? How do you create the interest in them? How do you create that desire in them to buy from you? I mean, if there are any objections with regards to, say, a particular a feature to your product feature, or maybe a price, is there a possibility to handle that pricing objection, or a product or a service objection? Is there a perception mismatch which is there, why they are not buying from you? So that is a micro drilling of this entire landscape. So maybe identifying the segments, like I said, getting into the sub segment, getting into application, getting into the customers whom you know, the customers who you don't, I mean, but you're not selling. And then there are some unknown prospect customers where you don't know, I mean, you don't have an idea whether the customer even exists. So what is the possibility of, or the probability of finding these type of customers where, I mean, you have no clue. I mean, the big market is big. You never know when a new customer pops up, or I mean, who is investing where, or who's diversifying there. I mean, for big customers, yes, you know, but for small, maybe you have no clue. This this exercise, I mean, if done in a very strategic manner and maybe in a very detailed manner, which normally people would sometimes laugh at कि ये क्या बोल रहा है यार, ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता है यार, इतना डिटेल में कौन जाता है. But so that again comes to the same point, that the normal routine keeps the human mind so busy that you don't think in terms of getting into all these details. So but there is a need, I mean, and it is possible. So there is a need to categorize your audience based on different targeting segments, for sure. And from when you get into deep of the depth of this, then you will see that there are certain behavioral patterns which will emerge. There will be certain need for some specific customers. Even for your known customers, there will be need which you never knew, right? There will be prospects where there was a need and you had a solution, but you never knew, I mean, you never took it to him, or he never knew that it was there with you. So I mean, once you map the entire database which you have and add to that a new database which you don't know, then a certain behavioral patterns will emerge, I mean, which will actually help you. And this is the information, which can open the doors for new opportunities within the same customers, or maybe it could be new customers, new opportunities and new customers. And a deep dive analytic can actually provide further evidence into new opportunities which are beyond the traditional way of your target audience, which means that, I mean, again, I'm repeating that the day-to-day routines keep you so busy that we try to focus or give targets, or maybe look at the market which we have handled last year, which we have handled last year. We take up targets of, say, growing 5% more than last year, or maybe 6% more than last year, not beyond that, because maybe because we are looking at the same domain, we are not looking beyond a particular domain. If we go a little bit more into a little bit more depth of this how part of it, uh, that will make things now more clear to you, because we have seen that what needs to be mapped, and we have seen a little bit of the micro mapping of the market. And now let's look at some of the best practices, in market research and market research, and on the both side, that is on the primary market research as well as the secondary market research. Now it goes like this. So you will say that the last two slides talked a lot of details, right? I mean, it was too detailed, and then we want to maybe now put that into a more structured format. And let's see how that happens. So maybe there are some research tools which can be used to map and get into depth of what all we discussed. There are some research methods which can be adapted to get into the details which you saw in the last two sheets, and there are definitely some outcomes of those detailed research methodologies. So let's take it step by step. So if I take it for the, say, current customers, and then what research tools can be used for the current set of customers which you have, I mean, customers whom you are already handling or you are already doing business with. So there are some research tools available for the existing customer set which you have. So those are what we normally use are these customer journey mapping tools and value driver mapping tools, which means you are selling to your customer, the customer is consuming your products, and he knows about you, he knows about your services, he knows about your level of your service and your responses, and there's a relation between you and your customer. But do you know, I mean, for your entire territory, what do all the customers put together say about you? I mean, what is your personal brand awareness? What is your personal brand perception? I mean, how do they rate you as compared to your competitors? What are the areas of improvement for you? I mean, it's basically customer journey mapping is uh, analysis of from a customer's point of view, where he gives a feedback to you on his experience in dealing with you, right from placing an order, receiving a material, consuming your products, talking, I mean, the experience of your services, and services related to the supply, services related to your payment. It could be anything. So there are tools which actually give the net promoter score. I mean, they give you a score or a rating, uh, which tells you, I mean, how close you are to the customer, or how fond is the customer to you, how likely he would buy from you, how long he will continue buying from you. So this is an exercise which maps uh, you know uh, your customer's voice for you. And the result is that if at all there's a gap between their needs and the way you handle them, I mean, you'll come to know that it is a pure feedback which comes from the customer, which helps you to strengthen your relations and maybe keep that customer for a longer time. I mean, that would strengthen the customer relationship for those. There are some the research method used for that is, I mean, some in-depth interviews we do with the customers. Like it would be a one-to-one interaction. Like we would take a list from your customers, or maybe you can do that yourself. I mean, you can assign your own team and take a list of your key customers, go and meet them, and instead of selling, I mean, be very focused and very specific to take a feedback on your products, your services with that customer. So the way we do it is that, I mean, we take the list from the customers, we go and meet the customers, we prepare a format, a questionnaire, I mean, which we ask to the customers. That could be a one-to-one interview, it could be a focus group discussion where you can have one or more than one customer in the same segment coming together and giving a feedback about a product or an industry. There could be online surveys to know the customer feedback. There could be seminars which could be attended to know those. There could be forecasting techniques. There could be business magazine journals, and there are various ways. The outcome would be increased share of business because, I mean, more about the customers' expectations, and it might also result, maybe some new applications which come up during the discussion. The second set of customer is, the known prospects. A known prospects would mean that the customer is there, but you have not sold anything over there. And these are very interesting type of customers that, I mean, they वो ललचा के रखते हैं कि मतलब okay, I am there, I mean, come and sell to me, or maybe you are not able to sell. And so for them, what is important is that how do you create more brand awareness of your products? I mean, how do you create more awareness into the different levels within the customers? I mean, the top level, the user level, the purchase levels. I mean, is there a possibility that you create more awareness about your products and your services, right? Can we do a strength, weakness, opportunity, threat analysis for those customers? Is there a possibility to map the need, map the gap and pain point areas for that customer? How do you map the decision making within the organization? Whom do you approach so that you get an easy access to the customer? There are various research tools again for methods for uh, getting into these prospects. There could be a pen and paper surveys, which is again going face to face with the customer, sitting in front of them, trying to understand what their needs are, where they are buying from, why they are buying from a specific customer. I mean, what would it take for them to buy from you or buy your type of products? There could be online surveys, there could be competitor interviews to know that where they are selling, I mean, what are their plus areas, and there could be some benchmarking studies going forward. The outcome would be some breaking strategies which you can adapt to cater to a large segment of customers, maybe a few specific segments customers put together. There could be a marketing communication plan which would evolve based on these studies, because then it would the survey would tell you that, okay, I mean, there's a specific plan which you need to have to create the brand awareness, to create the interest in the customer, to arouse a desire in the customer to buy your products. And so there could be a marketing communication plan which would evolve, and which can be clubbed with an offering plan. I mean, what do you offer and how do you offer to the third interesting domain is unknown prospects, or it should be actually unknown customers, I would say, where you are totally unaware of the market. You don't know about the customer at all. I mean, it is nowhere there in your radar. It is nowhere there in your big database. So there are some research tools to find that out. These are all the snowballing mechanisms where in the existing customers or maybe in the existing prospects, can you adopt to a vertical and a horizontal approach of finding out these type of prospects? Can you talk to the purchase manager or maybe the user and try to find from him that who are their customers? I mean, do they know about similar customers in their area of experience? I mean, so that's a snowballing thing. And there could be some white space analysis where, I mean, you have been going to an industrial area, and you know that there are customers, but you have not been able to visit those customers. There could be blind spot areas, like I mean, the customer is just next to your existing big key customer, but you don't know about that new customer at all because you have completely missed that customer out. That's a blind spot. Or there could be a cluster analysis. You may say that, okay, I mean, let me take today, say Pune, and in Pune, let me take, say, Fulton as an area, or maybe let me take Ranjangaon as an area, and then I would like to do cluster analysis for finding out prospects or customers who are, I mean, who could be my future clients. Or there could be census studies, which are government white papers published, or maybe some information which is coming from the government agencies as to the investment plans for future, or maybe diversification plans from the government. And so that is one of the way where some tools which we connect to, and maybe we, like I said, I mean, we are associated with a lot of agencies, I mean, the government agencies, and to get that data. The research method adopted over there is again database from exhibitions. I mean, because there are so many customers coming to the exhibition, so that can throw up that a new list of customers which could be probable prospects for you. There are various industrial associations which can throw up the data about the new customers. There could be, like I said, new projects announced by the customers, by government. There are many various online databases, or the secondary research method which helps a lot over here. It could be, say, various interviews with stakeholders and customers. Like in most of our research methods, I mean, we interview a lot of stakeholders, we interview a lot of customers, a lot of OEMs, and even the trade leaders, and to know about the existing customers and in a particular segment. With this, the outcome could be that mapping, visibility mapping of the entire area, a list of new customers which can be added to your kitty, and a new identification maybe of a new cluster altogether. Like I remember in one of the cases, I mean, we never, a long time back, I mean, we never thought that Surendranagar in Gujarat area could be a potential cluster for metal cutting, and we ignored that area completely for some 3 4 maybe more than 5 years. And then all of a sudden, I mean, one fine day you get a lead where you go and visit a customer, and you find that, okay, I mean, that's a good potential customer where you can sell. And by spending some more time in that Surendranagar area, you find that, okay, oh my god, there are some 15 20 similar customers. So prospecting is something which actually can drive the business like anything. So before we close, maybe I was thinking that it would be good to spend 5 to 6 quick minutes on, the lifeline for selling, which is prospecting. So whatever we spoke about in these slides, it is actually finding out new customers, or maybe new application areas, the new needs. It could be at the existing customer, it could be at the prospects whom you know but you have not sold, or it could be completely at a new customer's place. So the fallout of all that which we have seen till now is that, how do you take that ahead? I mean, having known the market, having known which areas to focus, having known the potential areas within a customer, having known some potential areas which you never were aware of, how do you go ahead with the prospecting? So I'll quickly take you through 5 minutes of discussion on the prospecting and what's the best way of doing it. So why is it important is that because it is the first step of selling process. whether it is in the existing customer or at the new customer. It's an activity of seeking out potential customers in your area to increase your customer base, sales and profit. And that's the lifeline for selling. Why it is important? Mainly because this picture actually applies. It looks that it applies for your complete database, but it actually applies for each and every customer also. But because even at a micro level for one customer, you might be selling say 100, but definitely down the line after 2 years, maybe your sales could drop to maybe 70 because of some different reasons where customers product profile changes or maybe some competition comes in, and then your sales should not drop to 70. Actually, you should find more opportunities at the existing customers to add into your kitty, so that even if you lose something, you still maintain your 100. So that is like filling up a bucket which is of whole. So to balance the sales at the existing customers or to balance the sale overall sales in your area, it is a must and it is 200% important to add more and more new customers. And the only way to add more and more new customer is to prospect, to find new customers. And to find new customers, those 3 slides which we discussed of researching in the primary research mode or the secondary research mode, and then the methods of researching will help you to add those new customers. Some general rule or because it's not easy to prospect new customers, because for 100 leads or suspect which you get, you actually land up by having only 50 prospects, because 50% of that are not your kind of customers. Somebody, I mean, you may think that you can sell there, but when you deep dive into the customer list, the prospect list, you will find that you can only sell to 50 of those. When you approach those 50 with some sort of a presentation, then you are actually able to address only 20 of those, because 30%, 30 guys will not, you will not be able to reach them, or maybe they'll reject you, or maybe your target hit rate out of 50 would be 20. So just imagine that with leads of 10, 100, you are actually able to reach out to 20 guys. And from those 20, you are actually able to sell, I should say that 5 also is a very big number, but depending upon your product category, you may end up selling only 5% or 10% of the total identified prospects in your area. And then comes in the issue that how can you have more conversion. So to sum up, maybe not all leads are prospects. Some of the leads are suspect, and a qualified suspect becomes a prospect. We should know prospecting begins the process of adding new customers into the sales kitty, which I said. And that is why those 3 big slides which I showed, those are important. That I'm not talking about a sales prospecting thing. I'm talking about prospecting from a market research point of view, where you are actually trying to prospect a big market base. And then the more customers, the more prospects you have, the more chances you have of creating them into your repeat customers. What I said, that out of 100, maybe you will end up having only 5 to 10 as your prospective customers who buy from you again and again. It becomes very important, to have a good efficiency on here, because without identifying needs, all leads will remain leads. And only when a salesman determines the suspect has a real need for the product, then only the sales organization must become a prospect. They must have the need for the salesman product, otherwise the leads are nothing other than a lead. Some of the characteristics, when you actually get into the depth of after that whole market research, when you finally end up with a list of prospecting customers, because ultimately the whole exercise will give you a list of customers and a list of contacts within the existing customers. What is important is that identify the different characteristics would be that the hit rate, which I said. So does the prospect fit into your kind of customer is something which you need to ask. Will he value your product and services is a question you need to ask. Does the prospect want your product or service, or does he have a need or he doesn't have a need? That is something more important. Or what is the market image? Are those customers financially sound or not? Because having done a big market research, having got a list of customers, having got a list of prospects, sorry, if the list of prospect does not fit into these type of characteristics, then maybe the whole exercise goes for a toss. So from the whole list of prospect customers which you derive out of that market research, the primary and the secondary research, what is important is that we focus on these characteristics of good prospecting, even at the contact level, because I mean, you finally, having known the industry, having known the segment, in sub segment, having known the customer, comes the contacts at the customer. So whom to contact is the last and the most important thing, that the salesperson should qualify the prospect to find out if the person has the ability and the authority to purchase or not, because knowing the customer only will not help you to gain sale. I mean, you have to identify a person who has the ability and the authority to buy, and he has to be an actual user, or he has to be a decision maker, or he has to be an influencer. And you need to judge his personality, know him more before and after prospecting. That is most important. And because finally, not knowing the market will not give you sale, identifying customers will not give you sale, identifying the right contact within those customers will actually generate sales for you. And after having identified the person, it is a one-to-one, because sales is a people relation oriented uh, thing completely. So I mean, it all boils down that how do you interact with that guy, how do you support him with solutions before you tell him about your products and features. So I'll end my presentation here with this last slide to remind you that, I mean, it's a big world. There are various ways of prospecting. The prospecting, the best way is maybe, one of the best way is to use the primary and the secondary research methods, which I tried to take you through. And between this metrics of primary research, between your known customers, between your known prospects where you have not sold, between the unknown territory, unknown prospects completely, there's a cross flow of cross flow of prospecting after all these things is done. And the moment you master that, I mean, you gain those market shares, and you will gain those profits, and you will fulfill the golden circle of the why, the how, and the what. So that was all from my side. I hope I was able to impart some knowledge and some guidance to you. Thanks a lot for being with me and listening to me. I have got a few questions which have come up, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. And I mean, if I'm not able to answer them, maybe I'll take some time and maybe come back to you indirectly, if at all I'm not able to answer them. So let me see the first question, which say that how do you sample the customers to know the market potential? Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So that is related to the market study or the market research. Uh, See, it depends upon the company or the customer. Like suppose, let me take the example of, say, cutting tool industry, for example. That will make things easy. So if you have to know, if you have to find a sample of customers to know the market potential for, say, cutting tools, then the market research way to go about it is to identify, first of all, the industry segments, right, who are into the manufacturing domain, first of all, because it will depend upon the application of that product. So if the product is a pump, then my industry, the industry segment which I will identify is maybe, all those industries where the pump goes in. Or if the product is a cutting tool, then I'll try to identify all the industrial segments where the cutting tools are used to manufacture. If the product is, say, electrical switches or the fan, then maybe I know which segments to identify. So uh, so to find the customers, to find the potential, I mean, we first identify the segments. Having identified the segments, we identify the big customers within those segments, right, who contribute to maybe 50-60% of the sale in that segment. Then we identify the different channel partners who are selling the similar product in the geography. I mean, it could be, if it's a survey only for a state, then maybe identify the channels for the state. If it is a market survey for the entire India, you identify the segment and the channel for the entire country. Having did the mapping for the industry, the customers, the channels, we then take in the competition who supplies similar products. We take in some government agencies and some consultants if they are there to map the industry. So it's then we are into primary and the secondary and primary research. So part of it is a secondary research which goes through the Google, some researched reports which are there, some already existing information on the net, and 70% is actually the face-to-face or the primary research, which is actually visiting those identified customers, visiting the contacts within those identified customers, going and meeting the channel partners identified, going and meeting some industry authorities which we have identified, and then with a set of questionnaires where that is pre-built, like for each and every customer we do a survey. I mean, we make a customized questionnaire, and then we conduct that survey across the country, and that is the way you find out the potential for a product. I hope I have answered the question, which was that how do you sample the customers to know the market potential? So it's based to sum up, it's based on the product which is being sold to those customers. There's another question saying that as the market scenario changes frequently, how frequently one should do a market research? There is no specific, straight answer to this, because once the survey is done, it maps the normal survey, I mean, or study, if done completely, gives you two outputs. One is the current market scenario or the current situation, right? Which tells you about the exact potential, not exact, but maybe it's 80% correct. I mean, there's a plus minus 10-15% gap. So it gives the current market scenario, and at the same time, since you are conducting this type of a detailed research across the country, where you're covering say hundreds or maybe up to 1,000 contacts across for any product or across the segment, I mean, you don't limit yourself to the existing market scenario. You also take into consideration 1, 2, or 3 years down the line how the segment will change. So any market research, if done, I mean, that compensates you. I mean, it gives you an idea for the coming 2 or 3 years. What is a competitor interview? And if I understand it correctly, and competitor interview, I'll put it the other way. I mean, maybe the answer could be that, or the question, if I can frame it, it could be that how do you gather competition information? So there are various ways of gathering competition information. There are different channels. The customer itself becomes a channel to have competition information. The competitor employees or the competitor organization is one of the place where you can actually get some information about the competitor, or from their channel partners, or maybe the market news which is there with different similar product suppliers, or there could be some secondary information already available. But most of it is the authentic information actually comes by mapping a customer, because the customer is actually using products, all the products. So if a customer is using say 100 as a product composition, then the customer knows that okay, he is using 50 of this, 25 of this, and 25 of that. So half of the competition information actually comes from the customer. The balance half is managed from the competitor and the channel partner as a information source. Another question is how to secure debts towards customer. I don't think, or I don't know whether that is a part of prospecting or primary and secondary research as to how to secure debts towards the customer. So I think that's more of a financial implied question. Okay, somebody has mentioned that it is a good presentation which sums up everything. Another comment saying that it was very informative. Thank you. Another comment question saying what is exploratory research? So exploratory research is finding out something. It's as a word says, you explore the market and the potential for a product of a company. I mean, I would put it that way. Which industry to be targeted for new business development during this market scenario? That is also a very interesting question, because the current market scenario has changed, but I mean, this is a temporary phase, so it should not, market research is actually done from a very long-term perspective. So any even though this is not a small blip which is coming, so this will last for I don't know how many months, at least for 6 months, but still it will not have an impact which normal. So as I said, the studies are done basically, from a long-term perspective. So this small blip of even 6 months will not have a big impact. So it's very there's no specific answer to this, that which industry can be targeted in the current market scenario. Another question comes up, which is that if a suspect is not getting converted for a long time, then do we keep track of it or drop it? I mean, 100 and 200% each and every suspect should be kept track of. It should never be dropped till the time you think that there's I mean, till the time you think that a customer or a suspect is producing, doing business, generating revenues for himself, is financially sound. I mean, you should keep him in your list, because you never know. I mean, when he will diversify, when he will invest again. So any suspect should always remain a suspect. What are the methods to judge a customer is a genuine or a fake one? So that is up to a individual salesman or a person who is in contact with the customer to find the genuinity or the fakeness of the customer. Just one interaction is needed to decide that. How do you know what to ask in a survey? That is an interesting question. So that is an interesting question, but it's a very open ended question, that uh, the survey is built based on the objectives which you define. So once the objectives are known, I mean, you can build the questions around the objectives. Like if there's an objective of, say, mapping competition, then I mean, you know what questions you need to ask to map competition. Uh, Another question is there is how to know the market potential in such a lockdown time. That's a very good question. So the only way to know the market potential in this lockdown time is there are two answers to it. So if you're looking for an answer that how do you do the market survey, then it's not possible to do a primary market research survey by face-to-face interviews, because it's a lockdown. So it has to be done over a phone and over a video call. And if your question was that what impact will the market potential have based on the lockdown, then it has a different answer, because in the current lockdown there is no need to know the potential, because it's a potential which is which does not exist. I mean, it's not valid. So everything. So we have to take the reference of 2019 to move ahead as of now. So there will be a drop, that is sure, but I mean, things will pick up. So it depends, and it also depends upon the type of industry you are in. So depending on the industry, I mean, if you are into a consumable goods industry, then once the lockdown is up, I mean, not you won't have the same sales as of 2019, but you will have, there will be a surge which will come, which will not take you to the same levels of last year. But so maybe the question may not have so much of relevance right now. Another question which is there is, if we wish to increase our sales to person who is near to our existing customer with whom we are already doing a good relations, do you suggest to go ahead, and how? If you wish to increase our sales to the person who is, yeah, I mean, it is always good to go and start serving the customer who is near to our existing customer. I'll move to the next one. How to convince the customer with only value and not with price? Can you give some example? See, price is a policy actually, if you ask me. So price is not something for the customer. Price is from the supplier's point of view. So price is nothing but a policy of a company, and value is something which the customer gets. I would put it that way. So when you are in front of customer, and if the customer is asking you for a reduced price, then the answer which I would give to a customer is that, Mr. Customer, price is not your concern. Price is my policy. I mean, it cannot be a concern. Your concern as a customer can only be a cost, and it can be only a value which my product can deliver you. So for a customer, what is of matter is the cost which he incurs to buy your product and the value which he gets to buy your product. So we should never, I mean, you should never, mix price with cost and value, because cost is something which he pays for the value which he gets, as simple as that. So if you are able to deliver more value to a customer, he'll pay you more price. If you are able to not deliver any value to him, he'll not pay you the price. The other way, from the customer's point of view, I mean, if you find that, I mean, your product is not delivering him the value, if your product is increasing his cost per component, then he'll not pay you the price. But if it is reducing his cost per component, I mean, his cost is going down. It doesn't matter what your price is. So price has to be kept separate from cost and value. Another question is, what should be the time interval for consecutive researches in a dynamic market like for steel applications and appliances segments? How do you use a dynamic data analyst to understand customers' current and future needs and expectation? Like I mentioned earlier also, I mean, time interval will depend upon, I mean, we need to get into detail of this question, because it has, I mean, we need to know more on the product and the product application. But a general answer would be uh, 3 years, I can put it that way. Another question is how to sell our product to customers where the price of competition is low than 50% from our price. Whenever we informed about quality of our product to the customer, but they are not ready to buy. This is a very standard question, very nice question. I love these type of questions, because everybody who's selling in the market says my competition is selling at half the price of mine. It's a typical sales question, that competition sells at half the price. How do I sell? But still, you are selling. I mean, that is the biggest and the greatest thing, that everybody achieves a target at the end of the year. But whenever there's a price discussion, everybody says that the competition is selling at half the price. So, to sell, price is the last thing which should come in the way. I would say that, because before price, there are many things which come before price. It is the right customer, the right contact, the right application, the right product which you have positioned for that particular application. And even if after having done everything, if your price is still 50% higher, then it is a little bit of a challenge. That is the identification of the need and the product and the solution for that application. Is it correct? Or there is a life part of it completely missed out? Or maybe have we been not been able to show the customer the value for that? So this is a little hi-fi serious talk, but it's a tough question to answer, because there would be some sales guys who would definitely sell at double the price, and there would be some guys who cannot sell at that price. So I leave that the solution for this price argument to an individual. I would put it that way, but it's a challenging thing. Does cost have any impact on prospecting as competition point of view? Prospecting, I don't think cost will have any impact on prospecting, because prospecting is much before selling. So costing and pricing and things will come only when you actually get into the need identification and the solution mode, because it will all depend upon what the application is, what the need is, what product you are offering, and things like that. So for prospecting, there is no connection with the cost. What is the ideal size of questionnaire while mapping? It depends upon the size of the project actually. So there could be, I mean, it could be simple 20 questions to who knows, I mean, 200 questions. It could go to that extent depending upon how big a market study it is. Salesperson only focuses on new business, but how to maintain relation with old customers? Should there be a different person to maintain sales relationship? The answer is completely no, because the job of the salesperson is to be in connect, I mean, to remain connected with each and every customer that is in his kitty. To find new customers and new prospects, the best way is to allocate maybe some part of your schedule to find new customers, and some part of your schedule to maybe maintain relations with old customers. So, I mean, in a weekly plan, if at all you make it, there has to be some time allocated to find new customers, and there has to be some time allocated to keep relations with old customers. Another question, is there any official website where we can get a particular segment of customers? Google will give you all the information for sure. Which segment should you prefer? A segment with high competition and customer prefers somebody else. Yes, I mean, I've not read the second question, but I would like to have this segment with me where there is high competition and the customer prefers somebody else. B, a segment with low competition, but the customers are changing their business often. Because once, why I said yes to A was that it is very difficult to kick out the competition, but the moment you replace the competition, you ensure yourself to be there for a long time. And the other option where if the customer is changing his business very often, maybe okay, it's easy for you to get in, but you may not remain there for a long time because you may get replaced because the next business which switches to may not have your application products. Do you suggest to recheck the mapping or to do it in COVID-19 impact? Do you suggest to recheck the mapping or do it again? I said, if I understand the question correctly, if some sort of a market mapping has been done before the COVID-19, I think there is no need to change that, because even though I said the COVID-19 will take some time to recover, but when mapping is done, it is done from a long-term perspective. So even this 6-8 months at the most, if at all we get stuck with this COVID thing, it should not change a mapping done in a research study. How will be the market for lifting and excavation segment after lockdown? I think I mean, I am not an expert on that, but with all the experience which I have, I think the market will definitely come up. For sure. There are reasons behind it, but this straight and the quick answer is yes, it will come up for sure. How does the marketing team share responsibility with the sales team? On this, maybe I should say that marketing and sales cannot be two different teams. They have to be the same teams and they have to be in sync. So there are 3 circles in any industry, in any company, I mean, which need to intersect. The sales circle, big one, the marketing circle, and the product circle. So till the time the product and the marketing and the sales team are not in sync, it's difficult to grow. What should be base to lose client even after becoming their first? What should be the base to lose client even after becoming their first choice? Definitely, the pricing cannot be the base. I didn't get it. What should be base to lose client even after becoming their first choice? If I rephrase it, I mean, how? I mean, can you lose the customer after becoming customer's first choice? Is that the question? If that is the question, then maybe the only way to lose a customer after becoming their first choice is by not being responsible and by not being dependable, I think. I mean, the price and those things are all secondary. What the customer wants is somebody, a supplier who's 100% dependable and dependable, nothing other than that. How to do a marketing or a SWOT analysis for a new client? It's going and meeting the client, questioning him with a set of questions, and then doing a SWOT analysis. Another question is, after the study has been completed, if something like COVID-19 has happened, how to predict short-term segmental loss? Too difficult a question to answer. With COVID-19 has kept, it has troubled everybody, including people like me, to give answers to such questions. The only thing is that, only thing which I can say is that with the current situation, is the best time for everybody to think, how to gain market shares once the things are back to normal. And maybe the answer to all these questions could be that, how can you think differently as compared to your other competitors or the other competitor salesmen of approaching customers, even now and maybe even after the COVID, to gain market share. Because I mean, it would turn out to be one of the best opportunity to gain market shares and attack competition after the things come back to normal. It all depends upon how you utilize this current time. So if this question is from the sales guys, then I mean, my advice to all the sales teams would be that, I mean, please use this time to think out of the box, or maybe create a complete new box of how to approach customers, your existing customers, after the after all this COVID-19 thing is over. Because I mean, if you think differently as compared to your competition sales guys, I mean, the world will be different. It is just your creative imagination. How do you go back to those customers? If the customer is diverted as they get less pricing from the other, then what should we do? Very nice, interesting question. There are many things which you can do. I mean, there was a question earlier that how do you do value selling? And I think there's no other way than value selling to justify your price, which is for you again, because for a customer it is still the cost. So it is all customer is for the customer, his cost is his concern. So if you ask me that if the customer is diverted as they get a less price from other, it's not the correct way of maybe thinking, because somebody would be offering him a less price as compared to you, but till the time you don't evaluate the value deliverance from your product and from the competition product, it cannot be compared. So if it is only price comparison without any product performance, then it is difficult. I mean, there has to be some measurement on the product performance and what value it is delivering to the customer. Then only you can justify. I think that was the last question, and if there are some more, maybe I can take them later on. And there are some questions which I was not able to answer. Maybe I'll have this the answer list with me, and maybe I'll get back to most of the questions which I was not able to maybe understand and maybe answer them. My feedback is that there were many questions other than the prospecting, other than the market research on finding new customers. So what I could find were there were questions related to price and product performance and market reach and customer identification. So if there are, I try to pinpoint those questions again from here and try to give a more detailed answer for those specific questions. Thanks all of you. Thanks for being with me, and thanks for your patience and listening and coping up with me for such a long time. Thank you.